Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Ragnar. Of course, how does this ship perform in 2024? That's the question I'm asking of a lot of these higher tier premium ships for resources. Almost through the steel ships at this point. But Ragnar is the ship that I recommended for DDs for the longest time if you were looking for a steel destroyer. And that really came down to the utility you gain out of a radar destroyer, especially one equipped with 152mm main guns and a lot of HP. This ship is a bit of a menace when it comes to cap control and winning games, but also can farm pretty well. And that's the main reason that I thought it was so good, and if you're looking for a steel destroyer, you should probably get this one. At least that's my thought. How does it fare in 2024? How did these games go? Well, rather predictably, we were absolutely tearing apart enemy teams. This ship is crazy. It's actually probably even better than I remembered it being, because this ship not only has this radar, but it's just impossible to kill. This ship is so difficult to deal with because it has so much HP. And even though this speed boost is limited, you don't have a very long duration of it, it makes you surprisingly maneuverable during that time. So combined with a lot of HP, and maneuverability when you need it, this ship can deal with a lot of incoming ships, whether it be DDs, cruisers, battleships. It doesn't really matter all that much. It just tears through everything. You do lack torpedoes, of course, so if you're looking for a torp boat, this is certainly not going to be the #1 choice for you. But if you're looking for a very, very strong gunboat DD, I mean, Ragnar's kind of it, right? This ship really loves going after destroyers as well as caps. You're going to win your team a lot of games with this ship, I think. And I had a lot of fun with it. Here we're, of course, starting with just 2 DD kills outright at the start. And we've hardly lost much HP either. We have a bit of an armored plate as well, so even though this ship is rather big and you'd think would take a lot of damage thanks to being so large, there's some armor here that's going to shatter DD HE, and that's going to allow you to survive some of those closer range engagements. Ideally, we do want to be facing destroyers at medium ranges, right now, around 7 to 10 kilometers, so we can take advantage of these amazing guns. 152mm means that they do a lot of damage per hit, much bigger caliber than we usually see on destroyers at these tiers, and with that comes better shell arcs as well. So we actually are able to shoot at longer ranges and not feel like we have to lead, 10, 20 seconds ahead of targets, that kind of thing. It's very, very comfortable to use these guns, as well as having some of the best dispersion in the entire game. So even though you only have 4 shells per salvo, the dispersion is so good that it really highlights your bad aim, actually. So you're going to see sometimes in this video where I'm missing targets, and you can't really blame dispersion with this ship. You have to realize that, hey, maybe my aim's not as good as I thought it was. That's kind of the downside, I suppose, of having such good dispersion. Great fire chance as well. Farming battleships, really not all that hard to do. In this game, I'm going to be farming and trying to rotate fires on the Monty, Bourgogne, and Yamato here. And just waiting for this Venezia to get behind this island. Don't really want to deal with that guy. That is a very, very scary ship. But RDD takes him out with orbs. That leaves us to farm here relatively for free. Now, you'd think at 10 kilometers here, bow in against this guy, not using our speed boost just yet, but we do pop it, and you're going to see the maneuverability here. I mean, you just dodge shells so easily. Look at how quickly we're able to just go from full reverse to forward and dodge those Yamato shells so easily. Monty shoots at us now. Well, let's throw it in reverse, see if we can't dodge those as well. And sure enough, they easily miss us. It's a menace, man. Like, what do you do against this ship? What do you do against it? It is very, very, very difficult for anybody to kill you. There are ways, don't worry. We're going to get to some ways that you can actually deal with this thing. But, I mean, it's crazy. We would just sit still, and they shoot at our ship where it is, and we throw it in reverse, and I mean, it's only the shells that dispersed out of his normal aiming window that actually hit us there. It's not the main bulk of the shells. It's crazy. The AP here is also pretty strong, so you're going to see me try and use that on a lot of battleships' upper belts, as well as some cruisers if you catch them broadside. But another amazing feature of these larger caliber guns is you pen 30mm of armor. So you're actually really good against cruisers with 30mm plating. You actually can farm them relatively easily. Bow in Des Moines on a rock is kind of terrified of you, actually. There's not a lot he can do against you. Now, this build that I'm running is mostly a conceal build, alongside getting the most HP and healing out of our consumables as we can. But I still have Fearless Brawler to give us some reload here, as well as Adrenaline Rush. But notice I don't have the full range upgrades, so you could certainly add some range to make this ship more comfortable in these situations where you're trying to farm battleships who are going towards the back of the map, that kind of thing. You'd get around 15 and a half, somewhere in there, instead of 13 like I have here. But I didn't feel like I needed it. I thought about trying that build after if I felt like my ship was underperforming or wasn't able to farm battleships or larger ships like I would want to at these medium to longer ranges. Maybe they just run out of my gun range. And I just never found myself with that problem, actually. So I'm going to stick with this kind of build, where we're mostly focused on getting that concealment down. It allows us to counter DDs a lot easier. If you want to farm damage numbers and get more average damage, probably it would be better to sacrifice some concealment to gain a little more range and DPM, certainly. But I really like this build, man. I love going after DDs. One of the best parts about this ship is the destroyer engagements and how powerful it feels there and how easy it is to actually impact the game that way. You feel like you're actually contributing to your team's win in that case. It's really nice. I liked it a lot. Yamato here feeling that AP. Poor Yami with that upper belt of 32 millimeters. You can see the damage just rack up so quickly with this thing. I will say though, if you don't have your speed boost available to you, it does handle like a brick. This is a very large DD, and it doesn't actually go that quickly. It's really difficult to dodge shells at closer ranges with this thing without the speed boost, because the speed boost is a 30% speed boost. Regular ones are around 8%, special ones have been around 20%, and yeah, this thing gets an even better one, 30%, it's crazy. It doesn't last long, of course, like I said, but it does allow you to have some insane maneuverability for a short period of time. So that might be a good option if you're not as confident in these gunboat DDs as well, to run a little more range than I am. And that'll make it a little more comfortable when you don't have your speed boost up, because it's not one like the French DDs that are also really amazing gunboats where you have a strong speed boost that lasts a long time, that gives you a larger window to be farming battleships down and still have that extra speed and maneuverability you're gaining there. This one is short, so you need to use it sparingly and use it in opportune situations where it's going to save you the most HP possible. I would see it more as a defensive tool than an offensive tool, actually. You can use it to go after DDs like this and push towards them quickly with your radar. That is a very powerful thing to do, but especially early game, I would use it to get yourself out of bad situations, to avoid some of that early game incoming fire. That's really important. Vampire here really not standing much of a chance, unfortunately. Most DDs don't against you. It's very hard for them to deal with a Ragnar, honestly. And this poor guy actually was getting just struck over and over again by the carrier, so I don't blame him for being frustrated at all. That is not a fun experience at all, especially to be finished off by a Ragnar radar. That is a painful gaming experience, we'll just say that. And now that we have control of the caps, farming battleships. That's kind of the routine of Ragnar. Go after DDs where you can, and then once you've taken them out or pushed them back far enough, go after the battleships. Farm your damage up. In this game, we got ourselves up to 4 kills. Confederate, high caliber, pretty good stuff out of a Ragnar. And I had great games all around with this thing. I didn't really have many bad games out of it, just because the guns are so consistent. And that's what you're really focused on here. There's no messing around with trying to do stealth torps or anything like that. You just know all of your battle impact and damage is coming out of your guns. And there's a nice simplicity to that, honestly. It doesn't... you don't split your focus as much, and you can focus really well on doing what this ship does best, which is just killing everything, essentially. And you're going to get a lot of base XP out of it too, man. If you're going after DDs like that, just a nice 2.6k base, essentially, out of this game. And that wasn't even 200k. It was close, but not even 200k, and that's what you can do with going after destroyers. Now, how do you deal with a Ragnar? well, hopefully you're in a Ragnar to deal with an enemy Ragnar. That's the best way to deal with it, honestly. Anything that can pen that 25mm belt armor is going to do reasonably well against a Ragnar, but still, you got to consider this ship's shell velocity and accuracy at range too. So even though there are some DDs that can do reasonably well against it, they just don't have the shell velocity to deal with it at range. So you're going to see us against an enemy Ragnar here actually tear him up a little bit. That's the thing, man. It is a big ship that it can take a lot of damage. It just needs to come from the right guns. Of course, cruiser guns are going to do a lot to you as well, but you're probably going to stay a little farther away from them. It's these surprise engagements where this ship can be taken out as long as you're actually able to pen it in a reasonable fashion with that 25mm plate. Of course, you could swap to the AP, but a lot of the time, you shouldn't be caught broadside in a Ragnar. This guy would be a little bit, although he used his island cover there to turn out and not show his broadside to me. So the HE is the only way to really do damage to him. Some DDs might want to swap to the AP against this ship, but typically you should be able to angle to it relatively easily, and then they're going to just bounce and do no damage as well. It's a very, very difficult ship to deal with. Even here, we're trading very well against this guy, but still dangerous, man. Notice I have used my speed boost as well to deal with him and trying to speed juke here. Not just use our fast speed that we would get out of the 30% boost, right? We don't want to just stay full speed. That's where we're predictable. We want to use it to vary our speed up and use that to dodge incoming fire. Of course, the best possible way to deal with a Ragnar is actually not using guns at all. If you torp it, it's a great way to kill it, honestly. It's a big target, and it can eat quite a few torpedoes. So our Venom here does torp them out, and that makes our life much, much easier. So if you're playing a Ragnar, watch out for the torps, man. People are going to be looking for that on you, just because that's one of the easier ways to deal with your ship. I mentioned the 30mm pen already, but, you know, I had to go find myself a bow in Des Moines on an island to farm. And sure, his guns are certainly scary, but we can use some of this island cover to keep ourselves from being detected or whatever. And just look at the full pens, man. Not a lot of DDs can do that to cruisers. Just full pen, full pen, full pen. You're gonna light fires as well. I mean, poor Des Moines, right? Like in this situation. As soon as Ragnar was entered into the game, man, it was just brutal to play a Des Moines against it. And it actually forces him out, probably because he's had that experience before. I know I've had that experience before where I'm trying to play bow in on my island. I'll try and speed juke a little bit back and forth, but I mean, the Ragnar guns are so accurate and have such good shell velocity. You just get farmed down for free. So he makes the choice to, instead of get farmed down by the Ragnar, he tries to make a play. And that's honestly what I would do in that situation too, because not the most fun thing in the world getting farmed down by a Ragnar. I will definitely admit that. We're missing a little bit here, but honestly, the damage output is just a lot, and our Monty should actually finish him off here. So you can apply a lot of pressure to various different ship classes. That's the nice thing here, is you feel very consistent in a lot of these games. That's one of the reasons I was a little worried about not having the 15 kilometers of range, but it felt really consistent against most ship classes. Although there are a few ship classes that it isn't so consistent against, and we're not going to get into it today, but I'm going to throw in this clip because you have to realize that this is your life as a big DD. Yep, that's like 15k damage for free. Nothing you can do. He just walks over and clicks on your forehead, and that's it. That's the gameplay. Subs, of course, also very difficult for a ship like this one to deal with. Forward launchers are okay, I guess. What do you do against subs, man? All right, we're not going to talk about it. We're talking about Ragnar. Backing into caps can be a great way to mitigate your maneuverability penalties as a big DD. And then when someone spots you, pop your radar. And you spot them right back, at least with this conceal build. 7.5 kilometer range on that radar. And it lasts 30 seconds, man. That's quite a long time for a radar, especially on a DD. We don't typically see that. There's even a lot of cruisers these days that are getting radars that don't last nearly that long. So pretty interesting to see it on a DD like this, although it's short enough range that typically either you've killed the DD before that 30 seconds is up because your damage output is so high, or they've made it behind cover or out of radar range and they get away. So the 30 seconds is nice to have, although not necessary. It's more about just having that radar to deal with your poor-ish concealment and counteract the better concealment DDs. Get a cheeky little double fire there on the Iowa, and that does burn him out. So we're kind of free to just farm this Yamato at this point, as well as hoping to get some shots in on the Kitakaze as he pokes out from this island here. Get a few fires on the Yami, swap over to Kitakaze. It's very, very nice to have a ship like this that can just deal with all the ships that come at it, at least as far as surface ships go. Now, in focusing on this Kitakaze here and trying to use this island to prevent him from firing at me at all, I accelerate into the Yamato salvo. And we take 9,000 damage. Did that really feel like 9,000 damage, though, on our health bar? Like, 9,000 damage is a lot for a DD. There's tier 10 DDs where that's over half your HP pool. And yet, it felt like just a minor hit, you know? So, I don't know, man. Maybe this ship needs to take full pens. I know that was a nice thing for DD players to have that removed, where you don't take full pens from Battleship AP anymore, but I mean, with some of these ships, it feels like it's just free, right? Like, you're seeing how much I'm just, like, walking at these battleships and farming them, you know? It's not hard, it's just free damage. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it certainly feels like there should be a little something, a little danger to walk at these battleships like this, especially in such a big DD. I don't know. Of course, there's the whole swap to HE argument for battleships, but that's difficult, man, especially when you hit modules and the HE just does very little damage anyway. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, because AP full pens was a pain. Especially old gearing. I'm sure you guys remember getting hit with that thing if you played it back in the day. Montana AP from like 18 kilometers, you get a few full pens and suddenly you're like 15k HP gone just like that. That's not fun to play either. So I don't know the solution, but this seems a little extreme. Although not against carriers. I'm okay with farming carriers for free. This is great. This is cathartic, man, after that other clip. Certainly. This feels very, very nice. Although it is a mid-tier carrier. As soon as you get into the higher tier ones, they got armored flight decks that just shatter your HE. We're not going to get into it. We're not going to get into it, okay? I promise. Let's go next. Go next. And actually, this is my very first match I played in Ragnar in trying to get content for this video. And I played a little passively, actually. I'm a little scared of what a secondary GK or Yamato could do to us. I shouldn't be as worried. Maybe this match taught me that you can just like run at battleships and just stay within secondary range. Not a big deal. You just farm damage so quickly. So forgive some of the poor aim or some of the premature angling or being a little worried to use all of our guns, because I had to figure this ship out again. I hadn't actually played it for quite some time, but playing it again, man, it is just unreal how strong this ship is, I gotta say. And yeah, I mean, as a battleship, what do? I guess you try and hit it with HE, AP, I guess. I mean, Yamato misses us. As soon as you have that speed boost up, it's like, good luck, man. If you're fighting against a good player in a Ragnar who knows how to speed juke, it's like, all right, I'm going to wait out his speed boost, I guess, and then try and shoot at him. That's really all you can do. Like, we're at 10 kilometers-ish from that GK. 11, I guess. Look at how badly he misses us, you know? It's very difficult to hit, man. It's very, very difficult to hit. And even if you do, you have 30k HP to work through. And 3 heals. You know? And I guess those heals are each 5k, so you got 45,000 HP to work through. That's cruiser HP, without a Citadel. And you can't full pen it with AP. You know? That's a lot, man. That's a lot. Also here, swapping between AP and HE. Definitely should be using AP here much, much more. First game, trying to figure it out, of course, and you saw how much I was using AP in the broadside battleships earlier in this video, later on when I was playing this ship, just because, I mean, it just slaps, man. It's just so good. I think I swapped it back to the HE here, potentially just because his fire went out? I don't know. But man, look at how much damage our AP is doing here. We're not even 5 minutes into this match, getting upwards of 70,000 damage. No, the fire didn't even run out. I don't know why I swapped to the HE here. That was just not the right play, especially with how broadside he still is. That was just a miss on his part, okay? That was not any fancy speed juking I did. I don't know why his shells went that short. Okay, back to the AP. Good. and now we can get some more damage. The accuracy, man, it just is so nice because you can actually pinpoint areas of the ship. It's one of the weaknesses of AP, in my opinion, is that it relies on hitting very specific parts of a ship where HE just don't really care as much. Or if you do care about hitting a specific part of the ship, it's a giant superstructure in a German battleship. It's almost impossible not to hit, right? Whereas AP, you need to hit very specific portions of the ship where you can pen and they're not too angled, and it's gonna full pen, not over pen, like a superstructure, that kind of thing, you know? And having the accuracy that this ship has, you can pinpoint areas of the ship. Upper belts, bow, stern, at closer ranges as long as they're not angled. It's really strong, man. That's 100k in, well, I guess the first 6 minutes of the game. And this was my first match, too. Like, I wasn't even playing it necessarily correctly. And speaking of incorrectly, we eat a torp. See? How to deal with a Ragnar? Just torp it out, man. That's the whole idea here. And we're going to find ourselves a Holland here, hopefully. He spots us. We spot him, although I do pop my radar because the game takes forever to actually load up ships that you've actually spotted. So we didn't actually need our radar here necessarily, but sometimes there's a delay in this game. It's not, you know, the best thing in the world to have delays like that, but that's how it goes. And we're hardly taking damage from him, man. Sure, he gets a fire or whatever, but that belt armor is just going to shatter. So, in fact, against a lot of DDs, I actually want to go more broadside until they swap to AP, and then you just angle in again quickly. Especially if you have your speed boost up, it's very easy to do that. Now, in this game, I also farmed down a Republic, too, so we got quite a bit of damage out of this one. But again, Destroyer pops up. He could outspot us here. This is not a situation where we would be spotting him without that radar. So we just get to radar him. It doesn't feel very fair to fight this thing. That was kind of my impression. While playing it, I was, you know, having a great time, obviously, because I was just smashing teams. But it's like, is this fair to fight against? I don't know, man. Like, what's the weakness here? Other than just, like, crappy aircraft carrier and sub mechanics that just don't belong in the game. But as far as surface ships go, man, like, this thing's nuts. It's actually insane. So I guess, you know, I'm not exactly hiding my ranking, I suppose, of these DDs. There's only 2 of them, but Ragnar's insane, man. This thing is nuts. It's really, really good. But I still think I'm going to do a video discussing the differences between these two steel DDs. There's not as many, but I still want to make that roundup video like I did for the other steel ships. Steel cruiser roundup, steel battleship roundup, because there are a few differences, and there would be reasons to get the Z42 over this ship, I do believe. This wouldn't be a ship for everyone, but Gunboat DDs, I mean, this is really, really good. The build I ran looked a little something like this. The upgrades, of course, going with main battery reload here. When I'm talking about range, I don't mean this range mod. I think you always want to go reload. I'm taking concealment as well as propulsion mod, and it's still a little clunky without this speed boost, but I mean, 30% speed boost is nuts. Of course, we're going after extra speed boost duration. If you can, definitely get this thing. I think if you have the steel to buy a ship like this, you probably have the coal to get an engine boost mod. It's worth it, I think. I don't think you need the extra duration on your radar. It already lasts quite a while. I don't even think if they nerfed the radar down to 20 seconds, I would take radar mod over engine boost mod. It's just that good. And we don't necessarily need the extra radar duration, in my opinion. At least from the consumable upgrade, or the upgrades here. The commander looked a little something like this, still going relatively defensive, I guess. Although considering how little damage I took, maybe you don't need to go this defensive. I don't know. But I still like having these things, you know, last stand, basic survivability expert, giving us that 30k HP exactly. Superintendent for not only the extra healing, but I mean, you only get 2 consumables base on this thing. So it's not a lot of those speed boosts or radars. So it's nice to have, I think. Concealment, you could swap conceal for the extra range here and then go more of a gunboat build, as well as maybe swapping superintendent for extra DPM or maybe survivability expert. I don't know. You could give up some of your HP or defensive tools to get even better DPM to farm if you're going after some damage records or something like that. Certainly doable, but I mean, I found this fine. And I liked having the option of having that radar matching my concealment. That was kind of the idea here. Just had an extra point. So consumable specialist, kind of nice that it just brings back that amazing speed boost and our radar just that much quicker. And armor wise, I've talked about it a bunch, but 25 mil is a lot, man. That's difficult for a lot of DDs to get through. You know, we faced a vampire and just noticed that his HE pen is 19 millimeters. So anytime he hits us here, he's going to shatter his HE. And if you're at an angle like this, well, of course, if he swaps over to the AP to try and AP you just angle in and then it all shatters or bounces, you know? It's difficult, man. It's difficult to deal with. It also has 360 turrets. Like, man, this ship is so good. I haven't even mentioned that it has 360 turrets with a fast turret traverse. Like, that's super comfy to use. I don't know, man. There's a lot to like here. The AA is surprisingly strong, actually, too. It does decent damage, but... I mean, you don't really want to be spotted with your AA all the time, 6.9 kilometer range. So you have to decide, are you going to be detected, shoot your AA at 6.9 kilometers and hope you deal with the whole squad before he comes and smashes you? Or do you try and use your concealment to sneak around and not be detected? And then maybe he detects you and then all of a sudden you only have 3.8 kilometers of AA before he smashes you and then you get hit for 15K. It's a bit of a balancing act. Sometimes it's worth to have your AA on, sometimes not, but I mean, yeah, it sucks. Fighting carriers sucks, fighting subs suck, but I mean, you already knew that. There's nothing new to say there. But that's the Ragnar. This ship's nuts. I've said that like so many times. I need to find different descriptors, I suppose, be a little more interesting, not to just say the same thing over and over again, but it's just that good, I guess. It's just that good. So definitely give Ragnar a shot if you're looking for a steel DD. In 2024, it's still just as powerful and maybe more powerful. In my opinion, it's more powerful, but maybe that's just because I undervalued this ship. I kind of slept on it a bit. So I do apologize for all of those Ragnar enjoyers out there. I didn't realize what I was missing out on. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.